The Declaration of Inferiority. The hall of the Galactic Council was a cathedral of light and geometry, an amphitheater so vast that its ceiling disappeared into layers of shimmering holograms. Species from across the spiral arm floated in their grav seats, each pod orbiting the central platform with a council speaker waited. Ambassador Elise Carter stood at her designated podium, the human delegation section dwarfed by the towering shapes of other species. Beside her, General Marcus Hale, broad-shouldered, gray-eyed, and silent as a drawn blade, watched the proceedings with the stillness of a predator. The speaker, a crystalline entity whose body refracted the chamber's glow into 1,000 shards, raised an arm. The room fell silent. By unanimous decree, the speaker's voice resonated like struck glass. The species known as Homo sapiens is hereby classified as a sub-civilized race, unfit for strategic influence or territorial sovereignty. Effective immediately, all human voting rights in the Council are revoked. All human claims to interstellar resource zones are nullified. There was a beat of silence, and then the chamber erupted. From the tier of the Ketheri, a serpentine race with jeweled scales, came mocking laughter. "Let the dirt dwellers return to their mud ball," one hissed. A chittering delegate from the Eshel Confederacy added, "Their presence here was a curiosity, nothing more." Elise did not blink. Her hands rested lightly on the podium, her expression serene. Years of diplomacy had trained her to show nothing, even as her heart hammered her chest. She let the insults flow over her like water over stone. General Hale's voice came through the delegation's private comlink. "They're baiting us. Let them." The speaker continued. "Furthermore, human development of advanced military technologies is prohibited. All research deemed a threat to Council stability will be confiscated under Article 9. This time the murmurs were not mocking. They were predatory. Elise saw it in their faces, alien though they were, the flash of opportunity. They thought humanity had been declawed. When the session ended, Elise and Hale walked in silence through the polished corridors of the station, their security escort trailing behind. Once inside the Terran Embassy ship, the doors sealed with a hiss, shutting out the noise of the Council. Dr. Kaido Ishikawa, Earth's chief defense strategist, was waiting in the war room. His black hair was tied back, and his eyes were sharp behind thin-rimmed glasses. A wall display showed scrolling data feeds from Sol's defense grid. "They've made their move," Ishikawa said without preamble. This was the first step. The asteroid belts in the outer rim, Ceres Prime, Eos Cluster, they'll move to seize them within weeks. Hale leaned against the table, arms folded. "And they think we can't stop them." "They know we can't," Ishikawa corrected grimly. "Or at least that's what they believe." Elise glanced between them. "And we want them to believe it for now." The strategist brought up a second display. It was a star map, but this one wasn't from Council records. It was human. Over 24 red markers pulsed softly around major Council homeworlds and fleet depots. Hale's mouth curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. "They have no idea what's already in place. Our stealth fleets are within striking distance of half their core systems. They never even saw us coming." Elise stepped closer, studying the map. "We don't start a war." "No," Hale agreed, his voice low. "We just remind them what happens when they underestimate the wrong species." The tension in the room thickened. Outside, the Terran Embassy ship drifted against the backdrop of the Council station. Just another small diplomatic vessel among hundreds. Inside, it was the nerve center of a civilization that had clawed its way into the stars, learned the rules of galactic politics, and quietly rewritten them. Ishikawa tapped a control, and the display shifted to a live feed. A black shape moving against the void, its surface absorbing light until it seemed to vanish entirely. "Shadow-class battlecruiser," he said. "One of many. Fully armed, cloaked, and in position." Elise folded her arms. "Tomorrow, the Council meets again to ratify the resource seizures. They expect us to beg for reconsideration." Hale's eyes were like steel. "Instead, they're going to learn the difference between arrogance and extinction." For a long moment, the three of them stood in silence, the hum of the ship's systems filling the room. Then Elise straightened her jacket, diplomat's composure returning like armor. "Then we'll give them their show," she said. "Tomorrow, the galaxy learns exactly who they've been dealing with." She left the war room without another word, heels clicking against the deck, the echo following her down the corridor like the ticking of countdown. Humanity unleashes the truth. The next day, the hall of the Galactic Council was brighter than usual, the great crystal arches refracting light like a ceremonial display. Delegates whispered in their floating seats, anticipating a human delegation stripped of dignity and desperate to bargain for scraps. Ambassador Elise Carter entered with the same measured grace she had worn the day before, her black formal uniform immaculate, the silver insignia of Earth catching the light. General Marcus Hale followed 2 steps behind, his posture relaxed but eyes calculating, scanning the chamber the way a marksman surveys a battlefield. The speaker's crystalline form shimmered above the central dais. "This session shall finalize the reallocation of resources previously under human claim," the voice rang out. "Any final statements from the Terran delegation?" Whispers broke out immediately. A few alien delegates leaned forward, their postures eager. They wanted to hear the humans beg. Elise took her place at the podium. "Mr. Speaker," she began, her voice calm but edged with steel, "on behalf of the people of Earth, I thank you for clarifying the Council's position yesterday. It has allowed us to take certain preparations." The murmurs grew louder. The speaker tilted its head. "Preparations?" With a gesture, Elise activated the podium's hollow projector. The air above her shimmered, and suddenly the chamber was filled with a live feed from space. Massive black shapes emerged in orbit around an unfamiliar blue-white star. For a moment, the Council delegates stared, unsure of what they were seeing, until the view widened and dozens more ships appeared, fanning out in formation. "These," Elise said evenly, "are Shadow-class battlecruisers. They have been in position for some time, in orbit around your worlds." A ripple of alarm spread through the tiers. Some delegates leaned to their aides. Others began tapping urgently on data slates. The feed shifted again, now showing one of the ships from close range. Its hull was a matte black that seemed to drink in the surrounding starlight, its edges dissolving into nothingness until the viewer's eyes slid off it. "This is the stealth technology you claim we are too primitive to develop," Elise continued. "You never detected them because they are invisible to every scanning array in your fleets. We've been here, watching for months." Gasps and low growls of disbelief filled the air. From the edge of the hologram, a second figure appeared. General Hale, standing aboard one of the cruisers. His voice filled the chamber like a cold wind. "You classified us as inferior," Hale said. "That means you didn't consider us a threat. That mistake you will not survive twice." The feed expanded to show red targeting grids overlaying the surfaces of various alien homeworlds and fleet stations. Council military infrastructure mapped down to the meter. "This," Hale went on, "is the view from our targeting systems. Kinetic weapons already in position. You would never see them coming. We could end your fleets, your cities, before your ships left orbit." The chamber erupted in shouting. Some delegates protested loudly. Others barked orders to aides. A few simply stared in mute horror. The speaker's voice cut through the noise, sharper than before. This is an act of aggression." "No," Elise said softly. "It's a demonstration of capability. Aggression would look very different." She let the implication hang. Council guards stepped subtly forward around the chamber's perimeter, weapons slung but ready. Hill did not flinch. The hologram showed one of the Shadow-class ships smoothly decloaking and recloaking in under 2 seconds, vanishing from view as though it had never existed. "You don't even know how many there are," Hale said. "Or where. That's the point." The speaker hesitated, crystalline facets dimming slightly, a sign of uncertainty. "What is it you seek, Ambassador?" "Nothing unreasonable," Elise replied. "Recognition of human sovereignty. Restoration of our council rights. Respect for our territorial claims." And, she added after a beat, "a formal retraction of yesterday's decree." The speaker's voice hardened. "You are blackmailing the council." "No," Elise said, and this time there was no softness in her tone. "We are ensuring that we are heard. Yesterday, you told the galaxy we were less than you. Today you know that isn't true. Tomorrow, you decide if you want us as partners or nightmares." Silence swept the chamber. Every delegate seemed to realize at once the trap they had walked into. Humanity had never been weaker than the Council. They had simply let the galaxy believe it. Hale's final words were slow, deliberate. "Consider this your only warning. The moment you move against humanity again, we stop holding back." The hologram flickered out, leaving only the pale light of the chamber. Elise closed her hands on the podium and looked directly at the speaker. "We await your decision." She stepped down, Hale at her side, and together they walked the long path out of the hall without once looking back. Behind them, the council chamber was no longer filled with mockery. It was filled with the sound of quiet, urgent voices, voices that spoke not of conquest, but of fear. The fear sets in. The hall of the Galactic Council sat empty now, the towering crystal arches dimmed to a muted glow. Outside, the great station hung silent in the black, its traffic lanes eerily quiet. Within the council's secure chamber, a smaller, windowless room deep in the station's core, 30 of the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered around a single circular table. Hollow screens hovered between them, displaying fragments of human transmissions from the previous session. Every angle of the Terran stealth ships, every targeting overlay, every word of Hale's threat replayed on a loop. The speaker's crystalline body dimmed as it addressed the group. "Our intelligence confirms the authenticity of the images. Multiple Shadow-class vessels remain positioned within striking distance of core systems. Stealth integrity undetectable by all known means." A heavy silence followed. From the tier of the Ketheri, the serpentine Admiral Seth coiled tightly, scales twitching. "If the humans have this capability, they have likely had it for years. We have been blind prey in our own hunting grounds." The insectoid delegate from the Eshel Confederacy slammed its claw on the table. "We must strike now. Overwhelm them before they deploy in greater numbers." The statement triggered immediate pushback. The amphibian chancellor of the Mirror One clicked its throat in disgust. "Strike? Against ships we cannot see? Against a fleet already positioned around our worlds? You propose suicide." Several others nodded grimly. The Council's chief military strategist, a towering, six-limbed Vorthan, activated a tactical projection. Simulations run overnight show probability of catastrophic loss in the event of preemptive strike, 73%. That assumes their fleet numbers are exactly as seen. If higher, the projection flared red. Probability approaches total annihilation. The words fell like a guillotine. Across the table, a smaller, rodent-like diplomat named Karen spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "This is not war in the old sense. This is shadow war. Psychological warfare on a galactic scale." The speaker's voice was flat, and they wielded it with precision. For a moment, no one spoke. The truth hung in the air. Yesterday, humanity had been nothing but an upstart species to be bullied. Today, they were something far more dangerous, an enemy who could win without firing a shot. The panic outside the chamber. In the public levels of the station, the shift was palpable. Civilian traders from allied worlds muttered about human ghost fleets. Council guards patrolled in double numbers, their eyes scanning the shadows. News feeds looped the moment Hale's words had echoed across the chamber, accompanied by grainy footage of vanishing warships. On the Mirror One homeworld, panic buying emptied markets as rumors spread that Earth ships were already in orbit. The Eshel Confederacy's capital saw military vessels recalled from border disputes, too many commanders unwilling to risk an unguarded home system. Even in the vast core-ward empires, where arrogance ran deep, the mood had shifted. Fear had seeped in, cold and quiet. The human information offensive. What the Council did not realize was that much of the chaos was deliberate. On half a dozen key worlds, human operatives had leaked select footage, close passes of Shadow-class ships above alien moons, encrypted communications intercepted and accidentally broadcast to civilian networks. Whispers of AI-controlled defense networks capable of acting without human command. Each leak was surgical, timed, and targeted to ensure maximum unease but minimal actual harm. Ambassador Elise Carter monitored the results from the Terran Embassy ship's comms hub. Her staff relayed reports. Troop redeployments, canceled Council trade convoys, increased security funding. General Hale stepped into the room, his expression unreadable. "They're rattled." "They're more than rattled," Elise replied. "They're shifting resources, burning credits, and questioning their own security systems. This is what happens when the threat is invisible. They fight shadows, and shadows are endless." The ultimatum. By the next evening, the speaker had requested a private audience. The meeting took place in a sealed conference suite. No recorders, no aides. Just Elise, Hale, and the crystalline speaker. "You have demonstrated your strength," the speaker said without ceremony. "But strength without restraint is destruction. You threaten the balance of this council." Elise met its refracted gaze without blinking. "We are the balance now. You stripped our sovereignty, try to steal our territories. That ends here and now." The speaker's facets dimmed further. "What are your terms?" "Recognition of full sovereignty. Restoration of all voting and trade rights. Territorial autonomy over the EOS cluster and Ceres Prime. And a formal apology delivered before the full council. And if we refuse?" Hale leaned forward slightly, his voice as calm as the vacuum outside. "Then your fleets disappear before they leave dock." The crystalline alien studied them for a long time. Finally, it inclined its head. "I will bring this before the council. You will have your answer tomorrow." The Whisper Campaign. That night, within the secure channels of the council's most powerful factions, the decision began to form. Not out of goodwill, but out of survival. One by one, factions shifted from calls for retaliation to whispers of negotiation. Among the Kethari, the Admiralty argued for mutual defense pacts with humanity. The Mira One Chancellor instructed diplomats to prepare language for a peace resolution. Even the Eshel Confederacy, most hostile of all, signaled it would not block a reversal of the decree. By midnight, the speaker had the votes. Elise stood at the viewport of the Terran ship, watching the slow drift of the station's traffic lanes. Hale joined her, hands clasped behind his back. "They'll agree," he said. "They already have," Elise replied. Hale allowed himself the smallest of smiles. "Then tomorrow they beg." They pleaded for peace. The hall of the Galactic Council had never been this quiet before session. The usual thrum of conversation was absent. Instead, the chamber was filled with a tense, watchful silence. Delegates sat rigid in their grav seats, avoiding one another's eyes. Even the ever-smirking Kethari kept their hoods drawn low. The crystalline speaker took the central dais, light refracting through its facets in muted tones. No grand gestures this time. No triumphant declarations. This emergency session, it began, voice-heavy, has been convened to address the recent misunderstandings between the Council and the Terran people. Every delegate knew this was more than a misunderstanding. It was a surrender. The speaker's voice carried less resonance than usual, the proud timbre replaced with something closer to resignation. "The decree passed 2 days ago is hereby rescinded. Effective immediately, humanity's full sovereignty and council rights are restored." A ripple moved through the tiers, not of protest, but of grim acceptance. The speaker continued, each word carefully measured. "Furthermore, the Council recognizes the territorial autonomy of the human-claimed regions in the EOS cluster and the Ceres Prime asteroid belt. These rights are permanent, unchallenged, and protected under Council law." Elise Carter sat in the human delegation's seat, her expression unreadable. Beside her, General Marcus Hale was as still as a statue, eyes scanning the chamber for the smallest flicker of hostility. The speaker turned its gaze to them. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend a formal apology to the Terran people for the insult and provocation of recent days. The Council seeks peace." The words hung in the air like lead. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Elise rose, the movement slow and deliberate, letting the moment stretch. Earth accepts the Council's apology, she said, her voice carrying effortlessly through the chamber. We have no desire for war. But let there be no mistake. If our sovereignty is ever threatened again, we will respond with the full measure of our capabilities. There was no arrogance in her tone, no overt threat. But the memory of the Shadow-class battlecruisers and their targeting grids was still fresh in every mind. Elise inclined her head slightly toward the speaker. Let this be the beginning of a more respectful chapter in our relations. She sat down. The speaker made no reply. Behind closed doors, after the session, the speaker requested a private meeting in its crystalline chambers. Hale stood at Elise's side as the alien addressed them without the mask of diplomacy. You could have destroyed us, the speaker said, its facets dimming. We could have, Hale replied flatly. The alien hesitated. Why didn't you? Elise answered for him. Because we don't start wars we don't have to fight. But we don't lose them either. The crystalline surface shivered faintly, a sign of discomfort. Then understand this. There are factions who will never forgive being made to fear you. They will look for weaknesses. Then they'll find none, Hale said. And if they try, they'll learn what extinction feels like in the dark. The speaker inclined its head, a gesture halfway between respect and defeat. We will remember this conversation. The departure. The Terran embassy ship undocked from the Council station under the watchful eyes of hundreds of alien vessels. No one blocked their path. From the observation deck, Elise watched the station shrink against the stars. We didn't just win a concession, she said quietly. We rewrote our place in the galaxy. Hale stood beside her, his reflection in the glass as hard and steady as the stars beyond. And they'll think twice before trying to write us out again. Below them, the sleek hulls of Shadow-class cruisers waited in silent formation, escorting their leaders home. Their black surfaces absorbed the light until they seemed like pieces of the void itself, gliding with predatory patience. The ripples. Within days, news feeds across the spiral arm carried the story. Some called it diplomacy. Others called it blackmail. On human worlds, it was called what it truly was, survival delivered with precision. The Ketheri began discreet trade overtures, seeking access to human stealth components. The Mirror One offered joint defense treaties. Even the Eshel Confederacy, humanity's most vocal critics, sent a carefully worded communique, heavy with subtext, requesting security cooperation. The phrase spread like wildfire through the galaxy. Don't provoke the Terrans. The final word. Weeks later, deep in the Sol system, Hale stood aboard the flagship Vigilant, watching Earth's blue curve turn beneath him. The Shadow-class fleet hung in the void like sentinels, each one invisible to all but human eyes. His comm pinged. Elise's voice came through, calm as ever. The Council hasn't moved against us. In fact, they've tripled the security budget for mutual defense. I think they've learned their lesson. Lessons fade, Hale said. Fear doesn't. He turned to the tactical display, where red markers denoted every major Council world. The systems glowed faintly, like embers in a hearth. We'll keep watching, he murmured. Peace is easy when they remember what waits in the dark. And with that, the Vigilant turned toward deep space, disappearing into the shadows where no one, not even the Galactic Council, could find it.